Welcome to Fractured. This is one of our summer specials. We hope watching this short one will encourage you to watch a longer one on the topic. That I'm so excited about our guest today. I even knocked my mic almost. Amjid Khazir, welcome very much to Fractured. We are so happy that you agreed to speak to us today because the topic can be very uplifting. We're probably not going to speak only about positive things, but I'm very happy you are with us, a founder and a CEO of Media Cultured. And what you do, in a nutshell, in media culture, through different media productions, through workshops, you challenge extreme narratives. And this is so important. So I knew from the moment we spoke the first time that we will invite you to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Sonia. It's a pleasure to be here and to join ReFOCUS today.
Amjid, let's go straight to what you as Media Cultured do exactly. How did it come to life in your head, your co-workers? What is the main idea behind it?
Yeah, so we're based in the UK. We are essentially an education and training social enterprise. But our raison d'etre is to tackle all forms of hate, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and racism. So as much as we deliver frontline workshops, education and training programs, a lot of that is built around film, sport, culture, because to tackle the narratives of hate and division, I think bringing people together is essentially incredibly important to us. I was born and raised in the UK, and the reason I chose to set up this organization 12 years ago, I sadly lost my uncle Zubair post what was an alleged racist assault. And so that was the key moment where we decided to try and fashion a way to do more. But obviously, having been born and raised in the UK, I have experienced racism, being of Pakistani heritage. And also post-September 11th, there was a huge rise in anti-Muslim hate. So it just felt like my life's journey brought me to do what I do. And my passions and convictions are now demonstrated and carried out through this organization, Media Cultured in the UK.
What you do is very important for people in the UK and especially the young people. I was watching this documentary on YouTube. It's called, I think, 4chan versus ISIS. So 4chan is a hackers group. They some of them were working with Anonymous, you know, the hacker group Anonymous. So and they were attacking ISIS online. So they were taking down their accounts everywhere in social media. And they mentioned that ISIS was targeting mainly young people and mainly teenagers.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, because they are the center of radicalization narratives. And I want to ask you what strategies, and you have experience in this, what strategies work best in engaging young people in a positive way using media?
Yeah, it's a really important question because before we actually began with Media Cultured in 2011-12, the 5 or 10 years previous to that, we'd had the opportunity to work with local mosques and with youth groups to look at the dangers of social media in terms of the content coming out of the Iraq war. There was, really awful beheading videos from the likes of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, who were then led by Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. And so one of our key focuses was what role can tech play and social media play in driving hateful narratives, be that beheading videos or be that just your standard racist diatribes that you find right across social media now. And what we've seen in the last 10 and 12 years is a huge drive by all forms of extremists to use social media, to use various apps around gaming like Discord, like Telegram, to the point where some of these groups have even chosen to create their own computer games. It's incredible, especially during COVID. So these are obviously targeted towards young people, a younger generation, where there's access, there's availability, there's a demand. So these young people, wherever they might be, whether it's ISIS or the far right, who have gone very, very good at evading authorities by finding different mediums to engage young people, it's incredibly important that we provide a counter narrative. It's incredibly important that not only do we see there's a risk of people being radicalized, especially young people, boys and girls, online, through gaming platforms, through tech platforms, but that we have a means of addressing these questions that they might have, that we are educating teachers about the dangers. We've spoken to hundreds of staff and teachers that we've trained, and sadly, some of them don't even know what red pilling means, don't know what incel is. So we're starting on this sort of, difficult ground where we're speaking about the terminology, we're speaking about the technology, and then we're speaking about the education and training that we need to give to teachers and then to young people about these hateful ideologies and wherever they might be fashioned, in your home or online, they can be defeated. It's about giving people the encouragement, the education, and the information to tackle those narratives. And that's, I think, one of the things that keeps us quite unique is that we're always looking to work with young people and bring young people into the fold to help us understand the challenges and the content that they're watching, so then we can address it together.
Mm-hmm. Amjid, what are the trends currently in radicalizing young people? I mean, first of all, are you observing that it's growing, or maybe declining? And the second part of the question would be like, so what would be those factors? You already mentioned a little bit about social media. Also, Rashid mentioned how those presented, how young people were targeted by ISIS. So, what are those main factors that make young people prone to radicalization?
Well, essentially, the main factors that we would say, the socioeconomic factors, socio-political factors, they would always bear down to the minimum of being isolated, being vulnerable, and not being given the education and the support from your school, your parents, your masjid, whatever it might be, in terms of tackling those hateful narratives that come, from my own experience, those people that use the Quran and the Hadith to spread violence and hate. There's nothing that would justify acts of violence in the Quran and the Hadith. Is the likes of what ISIS might be using. So how do we work with these stakeholders to give them the support they need, to work with the communities? But those isolations and those vulnerabilities, they're mirrored on the far right. If we look at the situation around the world where more and more populism is rising, we've just come off the inauguration of Donald Trump in America, and there's a huge conversation in America right now about where are young people getting that information? Well, it is on TikTok, it is on social media. They are going away from mainstream media, and what that's created is this unmanaged, undemocratic form of content where people are buying into one narrative, choosing sides, and then it's very hard to pull them away. So the trends, Sonia, are very similar on both sides. Is people get into this tunnel vision, they believe what they believe, the archetypal rabbit hole, as it were. And then what we're finding is that they're becoming more polarized here and abroad. They're buying their narratives, whether it was in the UK, where we've got post the awful incident around Southport, where 3 young girls were killed. Instantly online, we had key figures spreading the idea that the attacker was a Muslim and an asylum seeker. He was none of the above. But whether it was COVID, whether it was Brexit, mainstream media has lost that ability to engage with a certain demographic, and that content and that voice that they're hearing consistently and buying into, and then the algorithm is feeding them even more, is found on social media. It's found on TikTok. It's found on Reddit, on RedChan, 4chan. So I think if we're not going to be aware of the fact that the modern way of buying, taking information really needs to be addressed, then we're going to struggle. Because when I was a child, we were told, don't believe everything you read, i.e. in the newspapers. We now live in an era where the access to mass information and then thus misinformation and disinformation, there's never been a time like this in human history. Never.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a huge challenge to find these trends, tackle these trends wherever they might be. And I think that's why it's important that we use film and sport and gaming, that we use the same platforms to counter those hateful messages. And I think the work you do at ReFOCUS, the kind of work that we talked about in terms of filmmaking and education is incredibly important to creating an alternative narrative that also people can buy into.
Mm-hmm. Just a comment, if I may, like in the context of what you just said, the fact that Facebook just decided to cut all the fact checking on the American side. We cannot do it on the European side yet, at least yet. I mean, the policy is pretty strong when it comes to different data protection laws at least in the EU. But in the context of everything you just said, how radical kids can become just because of the content that is there online, and now Facebook will not be fact checking many things. It seems absurd.
They were not
because
doing a good job even before.
they were not doing a great job before, and they already apologized, and there were those accusations that they knew about certain things. They never stopped them. Teenagers committing suicides because of horrible comments about their looks, even appearance, right? And now they will not be fighting those informations anyhow.
No, I couldn't agree more with it. I was nodding along as Rashid spoke, because even in the past, because we work quite closely with the likes of the Premier League and football clubs right across the UK, and there's been a huge push for social media companies to do more to tackle direct messages full of racism or post. We had Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, and Bukayo Saka miss penalties in the Euro final against Italy. And there was a huge amount of racism that was pushed in their direction. And there was this assumption in the UK that, this must have come from overseas. And then the statistics showed that over 70% of it or 60% of it actually came from accounts registered in the UK. And so we have those laws in place. But as Rashid said, the number of times I've used social media reporting mechanisms to say, well, this is a hate comment, and it's just been ignored. It's been literally I've been told, people are using the N-word repeatedly and being reported, and there wasn't much done. But I do share your concern, Sonia, that if these safeguards and mechanisms are completely removed, and we've seen where the world is going, as we've just discussed in the previous answer, with unchecked information, if that is only amplified in the next few years, then where are we going to be? Quite literally, people believe the stuff that comes out online, and if it needs to be tackled. And I don't think, there's a very good book. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's called The Science of Hate. It's something that is very well worth reading. Matthew, I think his name is a professor in Cardiff University, and he talks about the number of mechanisms that people have tried to use to tackle online hate, and it's not as easy as just banning account, changing the algorithm. It's not that simple. And so I think the onus falls on the wider community, on parents, on educators, creatives, so that we have a powerful, visceral, strong alternative narrative that's consistently out there, so people aren't just looking at us as, it's not nice to be a racist. They really believe that. They really have to believe it. And I don't think we speak to the beauty of diversity, the strength of immigration enough. I don't think we do. I think it's consistently bad news, and there's much, much more we can do to tackle, whether it's online or in your home or in your school, the kind of ideologies that are dividing our communities.
I actually agree with you. I really think we miss those positive stories and not just like small fake things, because when I have to be honest, like what we are doing here is also we are trying to fight certain stereotypes and fight for a different narration. But we discuss problems, right? We actually recently have not brought many of those like really positive stories that are happening. It's something that we would also have to change or think more about, like those regular positive stories, also because all research show that the best integration happens naturally through, for example, workplaces, right? It's not something that is forced. It doesn't happen at some fancy trainings that you're supposed to do. You are supposed to start appreciating this diversity in your natural environment. Only then it becomes your easy and natural way of thinking.
Yeah. Amjid, you mentioned... Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, after you.
Go. This is a different thing, so if you want to comment, go.
Well, on that point, Sonia, see, we do a lot of inclusion and diversity and social unity training. And there are challenges that immigration brings to different countries because one of the things that really sort of gets me sort of annoyed is when people say in diversity training, we are all the same. We're not.
Yeah.
We are human beings, but we have very, very distinct cultures and beliefs and, morals and values. Some people believe one thing, some people believe another. Diversity, the beauty of diversity is accepting the differences. The challenge is the cultural intelligence. So if I, as a Muslim man, am advised that shaking hands with a woman who is not my wife, my daughter, or touching her in any way as my wife, daughter, or mother is forbidden to me, or it's it's recommended I don't, and I can educate my colleague or my school friend that this is done out of a sense of respect, a sense of safeguarding, so we don't have shaking hands, or in some cultures, kissing on one cheek, or in some cultures, kissing on two cheeks when you meet. That's simply, I have utmost respect and honor for you as a person, but I don't shake hands. It's very similar in some Jewish traditions. It's very, very similar in Japan. If you meet somebody who's older than you, I think it's considered rude to put your hand out first to shake hands.
Wow.
So just little bits of cultural intelligence that go such a long way, which some people, they don't shake hands with women. Oh my God, look at these backward Muslims. No, it's actually done for safeguarding, because if it's, we feel as a faith and as a community, there's certain safeguards put in place so you don't end up at the Me Too movement where people just go, you can do what you want. No, but I understand. I was born and raised in England. In England, shaking hands is the normal thing to do. It's part of the culture. So I've adapted, and it's about learning and cultural intelligence. And some things you will like and some things you won't. But that's fine, because we are not all the same. So I think it's important that we address those diversity education training in a more nuanced